We've seen a captivating game of cricket, one filled with storylines, and yet there's been one storyline taking center stage. It involves those three dreaded words, if you follow the sport a lot: spirit of cricket. It's been invoked again. And so, on this edition of ESPN Cricinfo Run Order, we brought the crew together from different parts of the world to discuss why always England. Welcome to George Binoy, Dustin Silgado, who are our Run Order regulars. Welcome also to Andrew Miller, Osman Samyuddin, and Matt Roller, all the way from UK. Floor is open, gentlemen. How is it that every time something involving the crease happens on the cricket field, it tends to involve England and it tends to spiral into this spirit of cricket conversation?
The way that England's always played the game, and I don't necessarily agree with it, there's always been this sense of genteel nature that goes into the spirit of cricket is essentially the spirit that is played at grassroots level in England, and grassroots in England is very much village green. The vicar's probably got the blacksmith, you've probably got all the cliches out there. It's not the sort of gully cricket you end up playing in India, where the guy who's got the bat will probably beat you with it if you try to take it off him, and therefore running him out is probably fair game. So I think it's just the starting point, the seed of where the game is grown from. In England, there's an assumption that it's all about being polite and good manners and well played and all the rest of it. The rest of the world probably doesn't agree. I don't agree, actually. I think the spirit of cricket is broadly a load of nonsense. It's a very useful educational tool for trying to teach people about fair play. But actually, if you bother to focus on how cricket is played in England, you discover that it's actually pretty iniquitous as well. I mean, W.G. Grace, one of the great pioneers of English cricket, is one of the most egregious cheats of all time. So, we've been hypocrites from day one.
I think one of the things that spikes the rest of the world at times is maybe a sense of a holier-than-thou attitude. Because if we look specifically, let's say, just to this incident, in the same test match, you had also seen Johnny Bairstow attempt pretty much the similar mode of dismissal. It's just that his throw did not land. So Osman, is the problem when you look from the outside to the rest of the world, the fact that it seems to be okay when you do it, but you don't take it as well when it happens to you?
I think it depends on which end of a decision like this you end up on ultimately. And, it was funny listening to both Stokes and especially Brendan McCullum yesterday talk post-match about how it's not something they'd want to do. Now, with Stokes, whether he would have taken back the appeal, he said yes. I can only take him at his word and wait for the next time something like that does happen. But with Brendan McCullum, of course, there's previous. He's done this himself 2 or 3 times, twice at least as a keeper in the past. And he puts it down now to, kind of having grown up and matured and understood the thing about the spirit of cricket, which is, again, it's fine, but that should also acknowledge the fact that, look, there are other people who don't take the spirit of cricket as seriously as you now do, and once you didn't. And there are other people who don't take it that seriously. And that's fine. Cricket's a pretty big game played by a lot of very, very different nationalities and very different people and very different cultures. Not everyone has to stick to this. And I'm with Miller on this. Spirit of cricket is essentially nonsense. And I don't think people who don't adhere to it are not the villains in this game. People who don't adhere to it are people who still love cricket and play cricket as well and as much as anyone else.
Having grown up playing gully cricket in India, and I might be generalizing here, we don't learn anything about the spirit of cricket at all. Everyone takes every single inch they can to get a person out or score a run. Like every loophole is exploited. We play by the rules, and if someone gives us some allowances because of the spirit of the cricket, we consider ourselves lucky. Yeah, we don't expect it.
What rules, by the way? I was taught one: my bat, my rules.
No, I think what sometimes annoys a lot of people about the way England approach these situations is the sanctimony and then the presumptiveness. Like Sam Billings, I remember after Charlie Dean was run out by Deepti Sharma, he posted saying that no one who's ever played the game would consider this a fair dismissal. And he soon found out that actually there were quite a few people who had played the game who considered that a perfectly fair dismissal, including, by the way, one of his own teammates. So I think sometimes England live in this bubble where they think that everyone's going to agree with them and everyone's thinks that this is against the spirit of cricket, but there's just different lines that are drawn in different countries. For example, in India, grass on the wicket is considered against the spirit of the game, but we don't go and complain about it when India play in South Africa or England, do they?
I actually think that's another thing at hand in this circumstance, is the fact that not only are England sort of positioned themselves over many years as moral arbiters of the game, they've also taken on this role in the last 12 months of telling everyone how you should play Test cricket, and it's cowardly and defensive and boring and not part of their mission to save Test cricket if you dare to score at fewer than 4 runs and over. So I think that might have played into it somewhat, particularly having sort of made the noises about feeling as though they'd won the first test and all this sort of stuff going on. To then be involved in something like this, I think Australia quite rightly probably felt as though maybe it was time to get England off their high horse and back down to earth with the rest of us.
I also have been critical of the mission creep that England have had within this, and I think actually it starts long before Brendan McCullum became head coach. I've written about this before, that way back when England won the World Cup in 2019, Owen Morgan was up there on the plinth, press conference at Lord's. The very second question he got asked after England won the World Cup in that match, in those circumstances, was, "Well, Owen, this is going to do a wonder for participation levels among kids and boys and girls at grassroots level." I mean, seriously, is this actually all England thinks about? Is like this panic about, is there any future to cricket? And the one thing that the ECB bangs on, or MTC as well, through the spirit of cricket, is the spirit of cricket. And this notion that there is a notion of fair play that is the English ethos, and it is why cricket is a better sport than football or anything else you might want to play. And so come on, kids, queue up and play this game. And I think a lot of the players have got a little bit caught up in that. I certainly felt that. You mentioned Charlie Dean incident earlier. I felt that that whole rumpus there. And the fact that India went for the jugular in a women's game at Lord's, at the home of the spirit of cricket, running out at the non-strikers end. I thought that was brilliant. It's like, you know what? Let's argue this out right here, right now. Is this about the spirit of cricket, or you, MCC, who are watching on from the sidelines, who are the keepers of the laws, not even the rules of cricket, the laws of cricket? Which matters to you more? Is it the spirit or is it the laws? Because you wrote the laws, and if you don't want to break the laws, you better not have a law that says this is permissible. It's complete bunkum, frankly, and that is the balancing act that England has got itself into, and probably more often than not tipping the wrong side of.
And Miller gives the NCC more to think of in a week where they already have so much to think of about happenings in and around the cricket field. Osman, is there any way out for us, or will these debates keep spurring on every 6 months?
I thought actually, on the commentary yesterday, I thought both Owen Morgan and Mike Atherton were really good about it. They were like, look, just move on. It's out. Bairstow's the one who's made that mistake. Just get on with the game. Like, there's nothing to be kind of getting into such a huff about these things. But I feel like as long as this kind of nebulous, very woolly phrased spirit of cricket, like if you read it, it applies to almost everything in life. Yeah, of course, you don't want to cheat. You don't want to like screw over your friends. You don't want to do this. Yeah, of course you don't want to do these things. That applies to all sport. You don't want to get a red card in a football final, a deliberate foul. And if you do, well, that's some pragmatism there. Allow for some pragmatism in your life. The thing is, as much as it's exhausting and tiring, I feel like somehow we've reached this position where it happens every 6 months or so. And like you go through that initial period like we are now, we're like, oh, we've got to talk about it, we've got to outrage about it, we've got to opine about it and give our takes about it. And then it dies down. And then 6 months later, you're like, yeah, man, I really want to have a go about something again. And I think it's time we had a run out at the non-strikers end. And so we'll get back into it. And thus, cricket will forever continue.
We all remember that 1987 incident where Walsh did run out the Pakistani batter at the non-strikers end, But how many other incidents can we remember of a team, in the heat of the moment where it really matters, giving up an opportunity to take an advantage like this? It's very, very rare. It doesn't happen.
That's a really good point. Bairstow, with his record in the chase, with his recent form, with Stokes looking the way he was, I think it was like a crucial time for that to happen. And had that shoe been on the other foot, and England were trying to defend a total with some other team going that hard at that total with that kind of player, I just feel like when you're put in that crunch moment, you don't always back up what you may say before the event or even after the event, because that's what humans do.
If, for instance, the World Cup final, which I mentioned already. But if the boot had been on the literally on the other foot, and it had been Jofra Archer's final over of the main event had been the other way round, and suddenly England are thinking that, you got I don't know, Trent Bolt maybe thinks that because Jofra Archer's not going to run me out at the non-striker's end, I'm going to back up halfway down the pitch because I know England aren't going to run me out, and therefore in that frantic final rush for runs and trying to get to the other end and back again, he's got a head start. Would England have allowed that to go on, or would they have thought, no, come on, you're taking the proverbial here, we're going to run you out, because if we don't run you out, we lose World Cup? I mean, it's a hypothetical, but it's a hypothetical that England puts upon themselves by insisting that never, we wouldn't ever stoop so low. Of course they would if they were pushed that far.
Yeah, we had an incident of a similar kind at the start of the year in this part of the world, where India withdrew a non-striker run out of field to let Dasun Shanaka get to his 100, and a lot was discussed. And I remember one of my dear wishes for this year, considering so many teams have so many stances on this, is for it to actually happen. A World Cup final in a last over, to have that situation, and then we'll see who wears which shoe where. I'd ordinarily ask for more closing comments, but as we've already prompted, we'll probably be back in 6 months or 3 months with the next installment of the Spirit of Cricket series under ESPN Cricinfo Run Order. So for now, thank you, all of you gentlemen, for your thoughts and inputs. This was the ESPN Cricinfo Run Order.